Hey guys, how you doing? This is Guan U007, also known as Lavelle of War or Mr. Misogyny. Either one, it's good with me. How are you guys doing today? So I've noticed a lot of buzzing around the two camps of gaming, which is the PC and the Xbox camp. First off, I would like to say congratulations, Xbox. You're about to get a very strong console that will do 30 frames per second for a lot of your games. For 4K, because it will be pretty well optimized. That's the strength of a console, though. It's usually optimized because it's usually the same hardware. The problem with that is, well, essentially the developers are making the game for the weakest console, which would still be the Xbox One. So, yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But the rumblings that have been happening between these two camps is this. Someone said that, and I don't know who the fuck this someone is, and I don't really care, that you could not build a PC for the price of $1,000 for which the Xbox's performance is around. And I just kind of look at that and go, that's retarded. Yes, not only can you build a PC for $1,000 that would curb stomp the Xbox, but I don't understand why you would think the box itself would be, I don't know, anywhere stronger than a PC that costs $1,000. I don't understand that myself, and I'm pretty sure no one else does either. But this was brought to me by D-Pad First in one of his videos, and I'm just going to play this little snippet, and then I'll explain why I think this is stupid, and then I'll present not only a PC that can perform around the same as an Xbox One X, but close to the price of what you would pick it up for. So let's get into this. I don't know where the fuck my buttons are. There we go.
More of my thoughts, and we need to shed some light on this entire thing about the Xbox One X. We went through something similar with the PlayStation 4 Pro, and now we know that guys like me were absolutely right. You got Ark Survival developers gassing this thing up to maniacs and fanboys, and I actually feel bad for some of the legitimate Xbox fans, those that aren't fanboys, those that aren't maniacs, because even some of them are starting to buy into this too. And now you got Microsoft saying similar things, Ark Survival, I mean, these fanboys, it's everywhere, but I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. Now, you're going to get some nice looking games, whether it's checkerboard or native 4K, 30 FPS with a lot of the more demanding titles, probably less, probably with some dips. You're probably going to get some native 4K titles at 60 FPS, but it's going to be the less demanding stuff. Racers like you see with Forza, or like indie titles, or just, you know, simple platformers, things like that. And I'm not trying to downplay any of that. I'm just saying, like, I don't see you getting, you know, something like the next Gears game at native 4K, single player, 60 FPS. That's not going to happen.
Well, actually, I could see it happening if they, you know, scale back a lot of the stuff for graphic fidelity, but you might be right. Again, I can't give a yes or no to this because, one, the Xbox One X is not out. It will be out in November. But I'll stop it right there, but he kind of made a PC that could curve stomp it, or so he says, curve stomp the Xbox One X, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that right now. So we're going to go to the link where it's the PC part picker. I'm just going to take a look at what he has, and I guess this is pretty good, but we're going to look at some problems and why this actually, the actual argument is stupid. And I don't understand why. Okay, so he has AMD's Ryzen 5 here, which is a 3.2 gigahertz Fucking 6-core processor, cooler master. You don't need that. Just toss that out. Gigabits, gigabytes, fucking motherboard, which is the Gaming 3 ATX A4, of course, to go with the AMD. Two Corsair 16 gigabyte, two 8 gigabyte, adding up to 6 gigabyte Corsair Vengeance LPX, DDR4 3000 RAM. You don't really need that. You could stick with 2400, which would probably be enough regardless. Western Digital caveat, that's standard. An Asus, an Asus Radeon RX 580 4 gigabyte dual video card. Now, I have a problem with this, and I will show you later on. Deep cooled Tesseract, again, you just went with the cheapest case, I believe, at that time. EVGA Supernova, 650 watts plus 80 gold clarification. Certified fully modular ATX power, of course, and a copy of Windows 10, which I have a problem with that because no one pays full price for Windows 10. So this is nice. The problem is you're not competing, you're overkilling. And the overkilling part, and if D-Pad will ever watch this, hi D-Pad, big fan of yours. The problem with what you're doing is you're overkilling and you're not providing anything other than what it seems to be is hate for the console itself. You admit that there is going to be 4K no matter if it's going to be checkerboard or not. I totally agree with that, because let's face it, it's what Xbox was talking about when they said true 4K. It's just fucking checkerboard. We know that. And certain games will be less demanding, like Forza. We know that. We saw the fucking demo at E3. We all did. So let's be realistic here. This is a good build, but for $906, you could have did way better, and it really sucks. One, $30 is the max you'll ever pay for Windows in reality. There's no need for this Cooler Master at all, so you can rip that out. I believe AMD Ryzen always comes with a fan, or should come with a fan. I could be wrong, but then again, I'm not a big AMD guy. Socket board's fine, I guess. Probably didn't. Actually, no, you probably didn't need to add a socket board. What was the point of having this socket board in reality? You'll have a way to put in, let's see, if anybody can see my hand, which you probably can't. You have a way to put in a couple of graphics cards, 3 for Crossfire, a fucking card for an adapter for internet, 4 fucking slots for RAM, your socket. Yeah, there's no reason to even have this motherboard. So you could actually went with a cheaper motherboard, which would have been better, but to each his own. So, but it's close to upward of $1,000 with no keyboard and no mouse. So if you're going to compete, at least try to compete in the sanest way possible, because it makes no sense. And if we take a look at exactly what the Xbox is versus what you put in there for Scorpio and what we know for specs, that CPU you have is overkill. That's not what's in the Scorpio at all. Not at all. The GPU itself is a pretty powerful GPU. We're gonna say it's up there with the 580, but in reality, I would knock that down, because a 1060 is better than a 580 when it comes to power draw, which means you could save money on your power as well. The 12 gigs of GDR5 RAM. See, we saw this trick with PlayStation itself when they just used GDR5 as their system RAM. That's basically what they're using as system RAM along with graphic RAM. So we're going to go ahead and just say this. Not all of that 12 gigs is going to be used. We're going to say probably 4 will be for system. The game will have an allotted version for what you would use as random access memory, and then the rest would be for the graphics as well. Memory bandwidth, that's not important in reality. Hard drive, of course, a terabyte is standard now, and optical drive. PCs don't need optical drives. They'll never need optical drives because digital media comes in a Blu-ray configuration, comes in fucking ultra high definition when you can get it. Hell, I don't need a Blu-ray to play anything on fucking Netflix. It literally comes through 4K on my TV. I don't even need the console or a PC to do that. It literally can do that. So there's no real reason for that. So I'm looking at PC Gamer and I'm reading what the what it has, and I would say that the CPU is possibly the weakest. And even they said right here, the Ryzen CPU you just put in is fucking retarded. There's no reason to fucking do that. You're better off with an i3 CPU. That's kind of closest where you're going to get to. I mean, in reality, its CPU is weaker than the i3. The only difference is its old Jaguar architecture still uses 8 cores, and even then, I believe it's not even using all of its cores, so it's not really that big of a deal. Scorpio CPU, which is 40 customized compute units, all operating at around 1,172 megahertz, which is good, by the way. Not taking anything away from Xbox users on that one. Using 12 gigabytes of GDR5 RAM. Again, obviously not really going to happen. And they even say it down here. More likely they're going to just use around 9 for the games itself. So 4 would just be for the system itself, which makes a shit ton of more sense. It's the same as Sony. Sony doesn't use all 8 of its fucking GDR5. Why would you believe the Xbox would use all 12? Makes no sense. So even the RAM, even the 16 gigs of RAM you have is kind of overkill now that I think about it, because the Xbox is using its GDR5 as system RAM just like the PS4 is. Let's see. Even they're saying, hey, it's around spec of a 1060 at best. So, and I will leave the link to this below so you guys can go ahead and check this out. So for the build that I have, I try to not go over what you would essentially pay for. Let's say you would go out and pay for a PC, then you would go ahead and pay $60 because let's face it, you're not really going to pay that low to have 1 month of Xbox Live. You would pay that whole year and not have to worry about it, especially when you're so close to the holiday seasons. So what I have to compete with the Xbox One, and we're just going to do it as is a Core i5, a Core i3 Skylake Edition 61, 3.7 gigahertz. This is overkill for your CPU. This is going to get your frames up as it can, but it's around the same as a Scorpio. Not necessarily, but as close as I can get. For a motherboard, I'm using the MSI H11OM Pro VD Micro ATX, which I believe that would actually be a better option. And then you have your RAM slots, you have your network configurations when needed, you have your one card, because in reality you're only using one card for the Xbox One per se, and then you have dual slots for RAM as well, because dual channeling does give better performance in RAM. That's the reason why I have the Patriot Signature line 8 gigabytes for double slots. So 8 gigabytes of RAM of GDR4 RAM, which is faster than GDR3, which the original Xbox was using. So slot that into your motherboard. For your terabytes, I go with a Toshiba 1 terabyte at 7,200 RPMs. it's a desktop. You don't really, you need a terabyte, period, for anything that you have. That includes your OS and storage and whatnot. For video cards, for some reason it doesn't show an image, but I'm using an MSI GeForce GTX 1060 6GB card, and I don't know why it's not showing it, but I believe this just came up on Newegg for around $259 with a promo plus shipping and handling, of course, which reduces it down to $249. 6GB card, I would say this is actually good buy. It's really a good buy compared to what the Xbox can do. We're talking about core clock speed is 1.54 gigahertz, and then you have a boost clock speed of 1.75 gigahertz, which is good, especially at the TDP, which is only 120 fucking watts. Trust me, you would want to get this. If you can sign on for Newegg and get it now. For the case I went with, I just basically did the same thing you did, which is go with the cheapest case there is, and we have the Xeon. This is an old case, but it's still a good case with pretty good form factor, and you're not really going to miss anything out of it. So it doubles as two things. It's pretty small. It's a mid-tower, but it's pretty small. It's pretty out the way. It's completely covered. You have fans, of course. You have airflow. Proper case in my opinion, in reality. So let's see. And for power supply, I went with an EVGA 500 watt 80 plus bronze certified power supply. That's because I'm not even around half of the power supply, unlike where you were at, which is, I believe, around 300. And I believe most of that power draw is coming from that 4GB card. Not only am I adding 2 more gigs of VRAM to that card, more likely I would have better performance out of a lot of games that will come out. Not to mention a lot of backwards compatible games for Xbox One, when it does hit for the X, would probably work better or have better support for DirectX 11. I'm just speaking from experience, so it would make more sense. Like I said beforehand, an optical drive, definitely wouldn't want an optical drive, and I think, let's see where I'm at right now, 566. So 566, $500 for the system, okay. $60 for Xbox Live for a whole year, so we're 6 over. So what I'm going to do is say you're going to want to get, say the extra money is for a game, and a new game, a new title, basically costs around $60. So let's go ahead and use some of that money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let's add a wireless network card, because I have the slot for it, and we're going to go with the double pin TP-Link, which is good. I use this myself. It's a great fucking link. It's pretty good for online gaming. You're not going to miss it. Seriously, I stand by this. It's a great fucking thing. And we're gonna go with peripherals. So first we're going to get a mouse and keyboard. And here's the thing about a mouse and keyboard per se. A mouse and keyboard, you're going to want to take a look at whatever keyboard or mouse you can get at a reasonable price that would be very good for gaming. In truth, I still have a Dell fucking keyboard. I've had it for years. I've been using it since the PS3. It has never failed me. Everything works just fine. I can't say anything wrong with it. So I'm just going to tack on a keyboard as a standard. So doesn't matter if it's just a regular keyboard at any point in time. Now let's tack on a mouse. And let's see, what do we have here? Regular mouse, both handheld series. Optical, you know what? I don't like optical mouses, so I will look out for a laser mouse instead. Laser mouses are better than optical. Oh, and this one's wireless. How do you like that? So now you have a wireless mouse, which is a laser, which has a maximum DPI of 1200, black, and hand oriented for both left and right. So now you don't have to complain about if it's left or right. You just stick it in, Windows should find it, configure it for you. There you go. So now I'm at what, 597. Now you have enough to buy a game, or let's see, where am I at right now? 597. Oh, we didn't get the alright, so we didn't get the, what am I looking at? OS yet, because you need an OS, so that makes sense. So what you would do if you're on PC, you would go to any key site and see if you can buy an OS. Where I got my OS is from Kingquin, and you can pick up a home Windows 10 OS from a very reliable key source, which is called Next Keys, for $26.02. Pretty good. I was actually looking at this key sender right here, which is, he's doing numbers, but it doesn't really matter. All the keys are at the same price. I would say get the highest rated and most complete orders. They will get your key to you pretty much when you order it, within 2 seconds of ordering it, and bam, there you go. So if we look at everything, let's see, calculator. If we look at everything here and say, where do I have it right now? Let's see, 597, pretty much 596. So now, yeah, 98, 597. So 197, 99, and then you would just plus the 2602, and that's 624. Let's see, 500, then let's see, you would do 500, then 60, then 60, so that would be 120 on top of the 500. So bam, there you go. That should cover everything. So for around $600.24, you would have around the performance of an Xbox One X. Not to mention, you can go on Steam, you can go on GOG, you can go anywhere and get free games. You can play your free games that you want. You can play Warframe, anything you want until you're tired over or whatever you want to do. And that's the good thing about PC gaming. You also have choices. Not only that, but you also have choices to upgrade your hardware at any point in time. So the next question is, can it do 4K gaming? And on a couple reviews such as Gamespot, like I said, look out for reviews that you want, but some mouse may vary. But if we're going to look at 4K performance around high settings, we're going to look and see exactly what the frame rates would be for this benchmark, or close to this benchmark if you look at it. And you can see the 1060 does in 4K for BioShock Infinite around 40 frames, Metro Last Light around 12 frames, Shadow of Mordor around 34 frames, Tomb Raider around 33 frames, the experience of multiple games, Overwatch 63 frames, Division 24 frames, Witcher 3 22.3 frames, Assassin's Creed Syndicate 14.2, Knights of the Old Republic, I can't remember which one is R2. I can't remember which one it is. They usually change their freaking acronym all the time. But 10 and 9. So again, mileage may vary versus what you're looking at. And I know that that would be a problem somewhere down the line, and this is VR testing. No one cares about that. So for AMD, of course, your AMD cards, your mileage may vary on your benchmarks here, and I'm just going to show that as a comparison. Tomb Raider is at 36. What was this? BioShock Infinite falls down to 1060 at 38. Shadow of Mordor pulls ahead at 38. Metro Last Light at 13, not surprising. And then you have your VR benchmarks. So as it is, it just swaps places with the 1060, of course. But I would also say that this RX and this 1060 are at full GDR5. That means that RX 580 is around 8 gigabytes, where the 1060 is at 6 gigabytes. Versus what you have, which is an RX 580 only at 4 gigabytes. I don't think that card's going to be able to pull off what you were trying to argue. I don't think that's going to work. That's just me. I'm thinking it's not going to work. So that is my video. That is basically me trying to compete with the Xbox One X right now. I would just say that I don't think it can do it per se. I think that the console will have an advantage because of its closed ecosystem, and developers will be able to focus more on it. Am I for the Xbox One X? Not really. Am I against it? Again, not really. I think this argument is kind of ridiculous. I think that there's no winners out of this argument at all. I think people need to sit down and chill and let the Xbox One X come out so we can actually get proper benchmarks and see what it can do. Anyway, this is Guan Yu 007 signing off. You guys have a great day, and remember, eat more apples.